Hey everyone, it's Ryder from Skip. I hope you're doing well. It's Sunday, June 27th. Important video today. We have new data on the number of EIDL loan approvals, both increases and new approvals. It's really insightful to see, and we expect EIDL loan increase changes coming soon to speed things up. I'll talk about what that is. And finally, I'm going to address the rumors that the infrastructure bill, this $1.2 trillion bill, may take money from programs like the SBA EIDL program, which may affect you whether you're in the EIDL queue or you're thinking about applying for EIDL loans. This is a must-watch video, so be sure to watch until the end and hit subscribe. It really helps our entire team, and like this video so others see it as well. I'm going to share some important numbers with you on EIDL loan approvals. First, let me show you the poll we did 3 days ago, almost 4,000 votes. Are you still waiting for your EIDL loan increase to be approved? 85% of you say you're still waiting. 15% say you have been approved. Things are picking up. That poll 3 weeks ago showed 90% of you still waiting, and the poll from 5-6 weeks ago showed around that same amount, 92% of you waiting. It's still too slow, and the SBA has acknowledged this. They are trying a lot of things to speed things up, and we expect changes in the coming days and weeks related to this. But let me talk about the overall numbers first of all, which may be helpful for context. And this is important because it shows the massive volume of loans that the SBA is processing. You know, they are approving more loans per week than they have in the history of the SBA right now. Since the EIDL loan increase went into effect on April 6th, that was switching the rules from 6 months of working capital capped at $150K to 24 months of working capital capped at $500K. There have been 30,000 EIDL loan increases approved. 30,000 have been approved. If I had to guess, I'd say millions are waiting to be approved. So that's still a small fraction of everyone waiting for these approvals. That total increase amount is $4.5 billion. So since April, it's been almost 3 months since the new policy went into effect. $4.5 billion and 30,000 approvals for EIDL loan increases. Now, for new folks who've applied for EIDL loans for the first time, there's been a similar number of approvals. And this is surprising to me because I would have thought that people in the queue would have been given priority, but it looks like they're doing things pretty equally. Whether you are applying for an increase or applying for a first-time EIDL loan, it's pretty equal because 28,000 businesses have been approved for EIDL loans since April 6th. So the split is for EIDL increases, 30,000, for new EIDL loans, 28,000, for a total amount of $4.6 billion. So all told, since April 6th, 58,000 businesses, let's round up to 60,000 businesses have been approved for EIDL loans or increases for a total amount of around $9 billion. The other important note is that the average loan size for new folks is substantially higher than it was under Jovita Carranza and the past policy of 6 months of working capital. The average loan amount for those 28,000 new EIDL loans is $165,000. That's up from $54,000 average from the previous policy. So I wanted to share those because no one's reported on the raw numbers before, how many increases have been approved and how many first-time EIDL loans have been approved. So there are the numbers for you. The last thing I'll say before I share the actions that you should seriously think about is the weekly loan approval amount. It is now $1.5 billion from the SBA. So that is substantial over the past couple months. Previously, it had been $500 million, and that rivals all of the major banks. $1.5 billion being approved per week. Again, still far short of where it should be to speed things up. All of you are still waiting for two reasons. One, the number of loan officers. There aren't enough loan officers to review things in a timely manner. And number two, the IRS backlog. Apparently, that's still the holdup. They're waiting to get tax transcripts from the IRS so that a loan officer can review what's happening. But here is the good news. The SBA expects to change this policy soon. We don't know exactly what they're going to do, but they've said they are coming up with a better way of approving EIDL increases that may not rely on the tax transcripts. So stay tuned for that. That's huge news. And the aim of that would be to substantially increase the approvals rate. That would be massive. Like I said, I think millions of businesses are waiting for these EIDL loan increases. And this is substantial money for you. But here's what else I want to point out here. This is the report from last Friday on EIDL loan approvals and targeted and supplemental approvals by state. We've been covering this weekly. By the way, they skipped a week. We heard it might have been because of the Juneteenth holiday, so they may not have put this up because of the holiday. Anyway, it's up now. Almost 200,000 targeted advances have been funded. Now, pay attention to this number right here. Only $1.5 billion have been allocated to the targeted advance fund out of $30 billion available. That's around 5% of the total available funding, which by the way is a much smaller amount than the EIDL loan increase pot. However, billions and billions still need to go out for that, people in the queue. But with the targeted and supplemental EIDL advances, while there's still a long way to go, all of these funds may not be used up. So two things. One, either Congress could change the rules and say, okay, now we're going to allow people in middle income areas to also be invited. That may be unlikely. I've been hopeful, we've been pushing for this in our letter, that they may change the legislation. The SBA does want this as well. But the infrastructure bill may change all of this. Here are the rumors I want to address. Biden announced this on Thursday, that they have an infrastructure deal. The sides still need to finalize how they would pay for the plan, as Republicans vow not to touch the 2017 tax cuts, and Biden says he will not raise the gas tax or electric vehicle user fees. The framework will include $579 billion in new spending. $312 will go to transportation. It includes $73 billion for power, $65 billion for broadband, and $55 billion for water. So here is the proposal so far on how they would pay for it. Increased IRS enforcement to ensure wealthy people pay the taxes they owe. And the big one here, it would also redirect unused state and local coronavirus relief funds to infrastructure. The framework proposes private-public partnerships and bonds among a bevy of other potential funding mechanisms. Okay, that's the big one. Redirecting unused state and local coronavirus relief funds. And a handful of you have been commenting about this on our channel. Joy Gypsies TV said this: has anyone besides me noticed that under the proposed bipartisan infrastructure, they intend to pay for it with unspent COVID relief funds? Seems to me they're talking about the money the SBA has not been able to spend on EIDL increases and grants. That is the fear, and it's likely that some of that may happen, but probably not for people already in the queue. So here is the PSA. If you have not applied yet for an EIDL loan, you're thinking about an EIDL loan, approvals are happening for new EIDL loan applicants just as much as they are for EIDL loan increases. You can go to covid19relief.sba.gov. It's a fairly straightforward form. They streamlined this last March and made it easier for you to put in your information. The infrastructure bill still has to pass final vote and be signed into law, but it's important to note that there is this risk that's being talked about of funds being taken away from the SBA, especially unused funds. So keep that in mind. It's likely that if you applied, you're probably all set, but if you haven't applied, there's always a chance the SBA may change their policy and say, actually, we're not going to accept any new applications, and instead we're going to shift this money to other programs. Okay, I'll keep you posted there. Most importantly, hit subscribe so you don't miss out on any new information. A lot of this is changing quickly, and I expect more changes in the coming weeks. And then download our free app, Hello Skip. If you want a $10 credit for our app, go to trackeidlgrant.com to get the app and get more news and data. A lot of the data I just mentioned today, we will put directly on the app. If you want to reference total number of approvals, total number of dollar amounts spent, it'll be all on the app. Most importantly, stay well, stay healthy, and I'll see you tomorrow.